Thank you so much, Sharon, for praying for us. Yeah. Remy, you want to recap? But now, you know me when a book is just starting. Anyway, what I remember is that life is what? Life has challenges. Life is difficult. Then I remember something to do with delayed gratification. What else do I remember? Life is challenging and is difficult, so we should know that. And then something to do with delayed gratification when Anne was giving her take home of what? Of how they used to tell her to eat meat last. Anyway, most of us during that time were told to do that at that point. Yeah, I think those are the things I remember. Then I see the author here talks about discipline as well. Behavior.
During the Monday read, I was a bit distracted, but I listened in, and maybe what was my lesson and what clarity I wanted to make is, yes, the author allude a picture for us that life is difficult, but in his writing, he was actually telling us to accept that life is difficult. That was the key lesson in there. Not that let's just know that life is difficult. No, he wanted us to accept that yes, life is difficult. But if life is difficult, so how do we know there will be a lot of suffering, challenges, and problems, and therefore they should be normal and a part of our lives. So much of our happiness comes from resisting that reality. So for me, that was my take home from that read. Yes, we accept that life is difficult, and our happiness is going to come if we fail to accept that plain given reality that there are challenges, there are things here and there, but irrespective, we roll. That was my take home.
Good evening, ladies. Thank you for joining. Okay. The sins of the father. It is not that the homes of these unself-disciplined children are lacking in parental discipline of a sort. More often than not, these children are punished frequently and severely throughout their childhood. Slapped, punched, kicked, beaten, and whipped by their parents for even minor infractions. But this discipline is meaningless because it is undisciplined discipline. One reason that it is meaningless is that the parents themselves are unself-disciplined and therefore serve as undisciplined role models for their children. They are the do as I say, not as I do parents. They may frequently get drunk in front of their children. They may fight with each other in front of their children without restraint, dignity, or rationality. They may be slovenly. They make promises they don't keep. Their own lives are frequently and obviously in disorder and disarray, and their attempts to order the lives of their children seem therefore to make little sense to these children. If father beats up mother regularly, what sense does it make a boy when his mother beats him up because he beat up his sister? Does it make sense when he's told that he must learn to control his temper? Since we do not have the benefit of comparison when we are young, our parents are godlike figures to our childish eyes. When parents do things a certain way, it seems to the young child the way to do them, the way they should be done. If a child sees his parents day in and day out behaving with self-discipline, restraint, dignity, and a capacity to order their own lives, then the child will come to feel in the deepest fibers of his being that this is the way to live. If a child sees his parents day in and day out living without self-restraint or self-discipline, then he will come in the deepest fibers of being to believe that that is the way to live. Yet even more important than role modeling is love. For even in chaotic and disordered homes, genuine love is occasionally present, and from such homes may come self-disciplined children, and not infrequently parents who are professional people, doctors, lawyers, club women, and philanthropists who lead lives of strict orderliness and decorum, but yet lack love, send children into the world who are as undisciplined and destructive and disorganized as any child from an impoverished and chaotic home. Ultimately, love is everything. The mystery of love will be examined in later portions of this work. Yet, for the sake of coherence, it may be helpful to make a brief but limited mention of it and its relationship to discipline at this point. When we love something, it is of value to us, and when something is of value to us, we spend time with it, time enjoying it and time taking care of it. Observe a teenager in love with his car and note that the time he will spend admiring it, polishing it, repairing it, tuning it. Or an older person with a beloved rose garden and the time spent pruning and mulching and fertilizing and studying it. So it is when we love children, we spend time admiring them and caring for them. We give them our time. Good discipline requires time. When we have no time to give our children, or no time that we are willing to give, we don't even observe them closely enough to become aware of when their need for our disciplinary assistance is expressed subtly. If their need for discipline is so gross as to impinge upon our consciousness, we may still ignore the need on the grounds that it's easier to let them have their own way. I just don't have the energy to deal with them today. Or finally, if we are impelled into action by their misdeeds and our irritation, we will impose discipline, often brutally, out of anger rather than deliberation, without examining the problem or even taking the time to consider which form of discipline is the most appropriate to that particular problem. The parents who devote their time to their children, even when it is not demanded by glaring misdeeds, will perceive in them certain needs for discipline, to which they will respond with gentle urging or reprimand or structure or praise, administered with thoughtfulness and care. They will observe how their children eat cake, how they study, when they tell subtle falsehoods, when they run away from problems rather than face them. They will take the time to make these minor corrections and adjustments, listening to their children, responding to them, tightening a little here, loosening a little there, giving them little lectures, little stories, little hugs and kisses, little admonishments, little pats on the back. So it is that the quality of discipline afforded by loving parents is superior to the discipline of unloving parents. So it is that the quality of discipline afforded by loving parents is superior to the discipline of unloving parents. But this is just the beginning. In taking the time to observe and to think about their children's needs, loving parents will frequently agonize over the decisions to be made and will, in a very real sense, suffer along with their children. The children are not blind to this. They perceive it when their parents are willing to suffer with them. And although they may not respond with immediate gratitude, they will learn also to suffer. If my parents are willing to suffer with me, they will tell themselves, then suffering must not be so bad, and I should be willing to suffer with myself. This is the beginning of self-discipline. The time and the quality of the time that their parents devote to them indicate to children the degree to which they are valued by their parents. Some basically unloving parents, in an attempt to cover up their lack of caring, make frequent professions of love to their children, repeatedly and mechanically telling them how much they are valued, but not devoting significant time of high quality to them. Their children are never totally deceived by such hollow words. Consciously, they may cling to them, wanting to believe that they are loved, but unconsciously they know that their parents' words do not match up their deeds. On the other hand, children who are truly loved, although in moments of peak, they may consciously feel or proclaim that they are being neglected, unconsciously know themselves to be valued. This knowledge is worth more than any gold, for when children know that they are valued, when they truly feel valued in the deepest parts of themselves, then they feel valuable. The feeling of being valuable, I am a valuable person, is essential to mental health and is a cornerstone of self-discipline. It is a direct product of parental love. Such a conviction must be gained in childhood. It is extremely difficult to acquire it during adulthood. Conversely, when children have learned through the love of their parents to feel valuable, it is almost impossible for the vicissitudes of adulthood to destroy their spirit. This feeling of being valuable is a cornerstone of self-discipline, because when one considers oneself valuable, one will take care of oneself in all ways that are necessary. Self-discipline is self-caring. For instance, since we are discussing the process of delaying gratification, of scheduling and ordering time, let us examine the matter of time. If we feel ourselves valuable, then we will feel our time to be valuable. And if we feel our time to be valuable, then we will want to use it well. The financial analyst who procrastinated did not value her time. If she had, she would not have allowed herself to spend most of her day so unhappily and unproductively. It was not without consequence for her that throughout her childhood, she was farmed out during all school vacations to live with paid foster parents although her parents could have taken care of her perfectly well and had they wanted to. They did not value her. They did not want to take care of her. So she grew up feeling herself to be of little value, not worth caring for. Therefore, she did not care for herself. She did not feel she was worth disciplining herself, despite the fact that she was an intelligent and competent woman. She required the most in elementary instruction in self-discipline, because she lacked a realistic assessment of her own worth and the value of her own time. Once she was able to perceive her time as being valuable, it naturally followed that she wanted to organize it and protect it and make maximum use of it. As a result of the experience of consistent parental love and caring throughout childhood, such fortunate children will enter adulthood not only with a deep internal sense of their own value, but also with a deep internal sense of security. All children are terrified of abandonment, and with good reason. This fear of abandonment begins around the age of 6 months, as soon as the child is able to perceive itself to be an individual, separate from its parents. For with this perception of itself as an individual comes the realization that as an individual it is quite helpless, totally dependent, and totally at the mercy of its parents for all forms of sustenance and means of survival. To the child, abandonment by its parents is the equivalent of death. Most parents, even when they are otherwise relatively ignorant or callous, are instinctively sensitive to their children's fear of abandonment and will therefore day in and day out, hundreds and thousands of times, offer their children needed reassurance. You know, mommy and daddy aren't going to leave you behind. Of course, mommy and dad will come back to get you. Mommy and daddy aren't going to forget about you. If these words are matched by deeds, month in and month out, year in and year out, by the time of adolescence, the child will have lost the fear of abandonment and in its stead will have a deep inner feeling that the world is a safe place in which to be, and protection will be there when it is needed. With this internal sense of the consistent safety of the world, such a child is free to delay gratification of one kind or another, secure in the knowledge that the opportunity for gratification, like home and parents, is always there, available when needed. But many are not so. Wanje? Hey, Rachi, you're not hearing me, or
you're yawning? Sorry, proceed.
Hey, man. And I'm a nice customer that never said that this week has been very, very busy, very tired, but it is well. Anyway, just slightly above page 27 in the ebook, let's say, but many are not so fortunate. A substantial number of children actually are abandoned by their parents during childhood, by death, by desertion, by sheer negligence, or as in the case of the financial analyst, by a simple lack of caring. Others, while not abandoned, in fact fail to receive from their parents the reassurance that they will not be abandoned. There are some parents, for instance, who in their desire to enforce discipline as easily and quickly as possible will actually use the threat of abandonment, overtly or subtly, to achieve this end. The message they give to their children is, if you don't do exactly what I want you to do, I won't love you anymore, and you can figure out for yourself what that might mean. It means, of course, abandonment and death. These parents sacrifice love in their need for control and domination over their children, and their reward is children who are excessively fearful of the future. So it is that these children, abandoned either psychologically or in actuality, enter adulthood lacking any deep sense that the world is a safe and protective place. To the contrary, they perceive the world as dangerous and frightening, and they are not about to forsake any gratification or security in the present for the promise of greater gratification or security in the future, since for them the future seems dubious indeed. In summary, for children to develop the capacity to delay gratification, it is necessary for them to have self-disciplined role models, a sense of self-worth, and a degree of trust in the safety of their existence. These possessions are ideally acquired through the self-discipline and consistent, genuine caring of their parents. They are the most precious gifts of themselves that mothers and fathers can bequeath. When these gifts are not being proffered by one's parents, it is possible to acquire them from other sources. But in that case, the process of their acquisition is invariably an uphill struggle, often of lifelong duration and often unsuccessful. But it is well. Discipline, problem solving, and time. Having touched upon some of the ways in which parental love or its lack may influence the development of self-discipline in general and the capacity to delay gratification in particular, let us examine some of the more subtle yet quite devastating ways in which difficulties in delaying gratification affect the lives of most adults. For while most of us fortunately develop sufficient capacity to delay gratification to make it through high school or college and embark upon adulthood without landing in jail, our development nonetheless tends to be imperfect and incomplete, with the result that our ability to solve life's problems is still imperfect and incomplete. At the age of 37, I learned how to fix things. Prior to that time, all my attempts to make minor plumbing repairs, mend toys, or assemble boxed furniture according to the accompanying hieroglyphical instruction sheet ended in confusion, failure, and frustration. Despite having managed to make it through medical school and support a family as a more or less successful executive and psychiatrist, I considered myself to be a mechanical idiot. I was convinced I was deficient in some gene or by curse of nature lacking some mystical quality responsible for mechanical ability. Then one day, at the end of my 37th year, while taking a spring Sunday walk, I happened upon a neighbor in the process of repairing a lawnmower. After greeting him, I remarked, "Boy, I sure admire you. I have never been able to fix those kind of things or do anything like that." My neighbor, without a moment's hesitation, shot back, "That's because you don't take the time." I resumed my walk, somehow disquieted by the guru-like simplicity, spontaneity, and definitiveness of his response. "You don't suppose he could be right, do you?" I asked myself. Somehow it registered, and the next time the opportunity presented itself to make a minor repair, I was able to remind myself to take my time. The parking brake was struck on a patient's car, and she knew that there was something one could do under the dashboard to release it, but she didn't know what. I lay down on the floor below the front seat of her car. Then I took the time to make myself comfortable. Once I was comfortable, I then took the time to look at the situation. I looked for several minutes. After all, I saw was a confusing jumble of wires and tubes and rods whose meaning I did not know. But gradually, in no hurry, I was able to focus my sight on the brake apparatus and trace its course. And then it became clear to me that there was a little latch preventing the brake from being released. I slowly studied this latch until it became clear to me that if I were to push it upward with the tip of my finger, it would move easily and would release the brake. And so I did this. One single motion, 1 ounce of pressure from the fingertip, and the problem was solved. I was a master mechanic. Actually, I don't begin to have the knowledge all the time to gain that knowledge to be able to fix most mechanical failures, given the fact that I choose to concentrate my time on non-mechanical matters. So I still usually go running to the nearest repairman. But I now know that this is a choice I make, and I am not cursed or genetically defective or otherwise incapacitated or impotent. And I know that I and anyone else who is not mentally defective can solve any problem if we are willing to take the time. The issue is important because many people simply do not take the time necessary to solve many of life's intellectual, social, and spiritual problems. Just as I did not take the time to solve mechanical problems. Before my mechanical enlightenment, I would have awkwardly struck my head under the dashboard of my patient's car, immediately yanked at a few wires, without having the foggiest idea of what I was doing, and then when nothing constructive resulted, would have thrown up my hands and proclaimed, "It's beyond me." And this is precisely the way that so many of us approach other dilemmas of day-to-day living. The aforementioned financial analyst was a basically loving and dedicated but rather helpless mother to her 2 young children. She was alert and concerned enough to perceive when her children were having some sort of emotional problem or when something was not working out in her child raising. But then she inevitably took 1 or 2 courses of action with the children. Either she made the very first change that came to her mind within a matter of seconds, making them eat more breakfast or sending them to bed earlier, regardless of whether such a change had anything to do with the problem, or else she came to her next therapy session with me, the repairman, despairing, "It's beyond me. What shall I do?" This woman had a perfectly keen and analytical mind, and when she didn't procrastinate, she was quite capable of solving complex problems at work. Yet when confronted with a personal problem, she behaved as if she were totally lacking in intelligence. The issue was one of the time. Once she became aware of a personal problem, she felt so discomfited that she demanded an immediate solution, and she was not willing to tolerate her discomfort long enough to analyze the problem. The solution to the problem presented gratification to her, but she was unable to delay this gratification for more than a minute or 2, with the result that her solutions were usually inappropriate and her family in chronic turmoil. Fortunately, through her own perseverance in therapy, she was gradually able to learn how to discipline herself to take the time necessary to analyze family problems so as to develop well thought out and effective solutions. We are not talking here about esoteric defects in problem solving associated only with people who clearly manifest psychiatric disturbances. The financial analyst is every man. Who among us can say that they unfailingly devote sufficient time to analyzing their children's problems or tensions within the family? Wow, that was a question. Anyway, who among us? Okay, yeah, it was a question. So, who among us is so self-disciplined that he or she never says resigningly in the face of family problems, "It's beyond me"? Actually, there is a defect in the approach to problem solving, more primitive and more destructive than impatiently inadequate attempts to find instant solutions. A defect even more ubiquitous and universal. It is the hope that problems will go away of their own accord. A 30-year-old single salesman in group therapy in a small town began to date the recently separated wife of another group member, a banker. The salesman knew the banker to be a chronically angry man who was deeply resentful of his wife's leaving him. He knew that he was not being honest either with the group or with the banker by not confiding his relationship with the banker's wife. He also knew that it was almost inevitable that sooner or later the bank would learn about the continuing relationship. He knew that only solution to the problem would be to confess the relationship to the group and bear the banker's anger with the group's support. But he did nothing. After 3 months, the banker found out about the friendship and predictably enraged and used the incident to quit his therapy. When confronted by the group with his destructive behavior, the salesman said, "I knew that talking about it would be a hassle, and I guess I felt that if I did nothing, maybe I could get away with it without the hassle. I guess I thought that if I waited long enough, the problem might go away." This is many of us. Problems do not go away. They must be worked through, or else they remain forever a barrier to the growth and development of the spirit. The group made the salesman aware in no uncertain terms that his tendency to avoid problem solving by ignoring a problem in the hope that it will go away was in itself his major problem. 4 months later, in the early autumn, the salesman fulfilled a fantasy by rather suddenly quitting his sales job and starting his own furniture repair business, which would not require him to travel. The group deplored the fact that he was putting all his eggs in one basket and also questioned the wisdom of making the move with winter coming on. But the salesman assured them he would make enough to get by in his new business. The subject was dropped. Then in the early February, he announced that he would have to quit the group because he could no longer pay the fee. He was dead broke and would have to start looking for another job. In 5 months, he had repaired a total of 8 pieces of furniture. When asked why he hadn't started looking for a job sooner, he replied, "I knew 6 weeks ago that I was running through my money fast, but somehow I couldn't believe that it would come to this point. The whole thing just didn't seem very urgent, but boy, it's urgent now." He had, of course, ignored his problem. Slowly it began to dawn on him that until he solved his problem of ignoring problems, he would never get beyond step one, even with all the psychotherapy in the world. This inclination to ignore problems is once again a simple manifestation of an unwillingness to delay gratification. Confronting problems is, as I have said, painful. To willingly confront a problem early, before we are forced to confront it by circumstances, means to put aside something pleasant or less painful for something more painful. It is choosing to suffer now in the hope of future gratification rather than in choosing to continue present gratification in the hope that future suffering will not be necessary. It may seem that the salesman who ignored such obvious problems was emotionally immature or psychologically primitive, but again, I tell you, he is every man, and his immaturity and primitiveness exist in us all. A great general commander of an army once told me, "The single greatest problem in this army, or I guess in any organization, is that most of the executives will sit looking at problems in their units, staring at them right in the face, doing nothing, as if these problems will go away if they sit there long enough." The general wasn't talking about the mentally weak or abnormal. He was talking about the other generals and senior colonels, mature men of proven capability and trained in discipline. Okay, a few minutes to go. Parents are executives, and despite the fact that they are usually ill-prepared for it, their task can be every bit as complex as directing a company or corporation. Unlike the army executives, most parents will perceive problems in their children or in their relationship with their children for months or years before they take any effective action. If they ever do, we thought maybe he would grow out of it, the parents say as they come to the child psychiatrist with a problem of 5 years duration. And with respect for the complexity of parenting, it must be said that parental decisions are difficult and the children often do grow out of it, but it almost never hurts to try to help them grow out of it or to look more closely at the problem. And while children often grow out of it, often they do not. And as with so many problems, the longer children's problems are ignored, the larger they become, and the more painful and difficult to solve. Next part is responsibility. Well, we start from there next time. Remy, what do you think?
The statement that was saying problems don't go away. You walk through them. I'm still contemplating, thinking, and it is thinking problems don't go away. The other chapter was more of teaching about how we have to instill it in our children to help them grow out of it, to know that problems are there and you don't have to avoid them, because the more you avoid them, then you are, I don't know how to say it, but face them head on. Yes, to me, as I'm going to reread the chapter of Sins of a Father, that statement, problems don't go away, stood out for me. As I'm waiting to learn from the ladies that joined before me. Thank you.
What I've picked is we need to, from the story of that guy, the sales guy, first of all, we need to allow ourselves to feel the emotions. Okay, that was not written there, but for me, that's how I understood it. We need to allow ourselves to feel the emotions. Then we can be able to deal with the problem. Yeah, because if we don't allow ourselves to feel, then we underlook what is actually there. We think, I'm going to get past it, or I'll get over it. But if we allow ourselves to feel the emotions, think through them, and now not just sit there, but now get a solution or think of the way forward, then you're able to move past it. But if you don't sit there and feel the emotions, know how to deal with an issue or a problem, then it will keep haunting you. Yeah, for lack of a better word, yeah.
Okay, Remy, thank you so much for your take home. Paris, thank you as well. So that thing of parents suffering with children, as I was reading, I was wondering how with delayed gratification and everything. Then the perfect example that came to my mind is the tablets. The easiest way to get rid of quote unquote, I'm saying this because I'm also an aunt who also has a smartphone. When you want to do your things and get lost in your own world, the easiest thing to do is to really hand those children either the phone or give them their tablets. They go do their own thing, and I also go do my own thing, most of which is not very useful to them. But in the generation we are in right now, we no longer have that time. And I'll tie it to that time the author was really mentioning. The author started with time, of how loving children means giving them time, nurturing them, playing with them, being with them. If you love something, you nurture it, you stay with it, you do what? you give it a lot of time. But with the society we are in right now, njagala kola byange, njagala kulaba filimu zange, nvudde ku mulimu nange nkooye, nkose biki. So the easiest thing is to give them either the tablet or the phone, bamveeko or something. But if you're willing to suffer with your children, you first of all, you're going to give them time. Maybe you're going to play with them. They will have maybe their tablets for 1 hour. That is you're disciplining them or delaying gratification, because we all know how technology and dopamine and whatever, and how it gets addictive and all those things. So if you want them to engage in other forms, in other things that help them develop better, like playing with them, toys and other things apart from these electronic gadgets, it is suffering. Actually, it is suffering with them. You also want to press your phone, but because you want to give them time and attention, you have to play with them, maybe read with them a book, maybe check with them their homework, pay attention to what they did in their homework, all that thing. It is suffering and delaying gratification, which gratification is what? Is the tablet or the phone for you as a parent. So if they learn that even my parent suffers with me and they are with me in my suffering, then that means suffering is okay. They grow up to have discipline, self-control, and also they can also delay gratification because you as a parent, you also suffered with them. Yeah, so that's what I got out from that passage. Thank you.
I may lack substantial argument to whatever is being discussed on phones and suffering, but there is a realization we all have to come to, that we are in a different era. Yes, we may schedule times to be with our children, but we also won't fail to have lives because we have children. And I think parents who have done that, try to be the perfect parents, actually they are in mental clinics and everything. Maybe it would be establishing a boundary on which kind of phones and everything, because I know technology people who have put installed languages only into their kids' tablets and everything, so that whenever a kid goes to the tablet, they only find French and English, and those kids have learned that. I think it is the proper use of the gadgets or the environment within which we are. We can't behave like our parents did. So, like I stated before, I may not have read whatever has been read, so I lack substantial argument to this, but I know we are in a different era and we've got to behave differently. We cannot shield our kids away from the phones. We have to teach them how to use them responsibly.
Thank you, Monique, Paris, and all the others that listened in. I imagine Monica is already arguing like that. So imagine she had the first thing of discipline. But as parents, we all want the best for our children, and I think, I was hosting sales, so I finished a bit late. But if I had a little bit of it, was some of these kids copy from what we do. So if you're from a loving family and your parents have showed you all this love, sorry for the example I'm going to use, and then you're from this drunkard family where parents are ever fighting, hitting themselves. Today someone has a panga, the other one has, so definitely as these other parents are beating their children and they're having hugs and they're having, but then the other one doesn't even know what love means. So they will still mingle, and they're in two different worlds basically. So let's try our level best that amidst the challenges of this world, amidst the difficulties that we can never avoid because they are there to make us strong, let's learn to show our children the right way. Where there is love, let's show them love. Where there is sorrow, they still have to go through that. Then also, I think they talked about time, discipline and time. So in everything you're to learn, it needs time. my dearest friend Hot Muganda has created time for agriculture. That if you see her in the garden, you'll think agriculture is the sweetest thing ever. But then because as some of us don't give time, not understand how she goes in the hot sun to harvest coffee, to mulch and to cut it, to do the small unnecessary cuttings all over it, to go and get the bisagazi for the cows, and she will enjoy it, trust me, and then she will see pleasure in it. So it's all achieved through the matter of giving it time. Everything is achievable. It's a matter of how do we spend our time. If I've seen something, do I create time for it? I've seen people who say like they don't get time to cook. Why? Because they don't have the time. But cooking, it's just a matter of you creating the time yourself. You'll find someone who says, where do you get the time to read books? Where? Like, I can't do that. I can't. But it's all about time. Some will not gym because they've not created the time. So in everything in this world, to achieve it, let's create time. Let's have discipline and time. Definitely when we get the disciplines for something, we will always create time for it. Sharon will tell you, I will not work on a Saturday. It is for my garden. It is for my cows and my animals. So everything is achievable. It is up to us to change our ways on how we think about. And for the parenting, like how Monica said, we're in different worlds, but still, even whatever in 21st century, whatever century we are in now, it depends on the discipline. Still comes back to discipline. In my house, I'll give an example. No, you don't just wake up and then you sit on the TV. Have you brushed? Have you showered? Have you done something? What work have you done to get you a gateway to sit on that TV? So maybe you don't just come, Mommy, I've just woken up, I'm on TV. To do what? There is still washing utensils, there's still sweeping, there's so many things to do around the house. You can't just wake up and then you sit on TV. To do what? Really? Me, there you get a slap. You don't just come from school and then you throw your bag wherever it is. Come home, remove your containers, give them there. Go to the dining, do your homework. From your homework, go and shower, then you ask for supper. Before you start telling me the tab. And most of the times, actually, during school time, they always say the tabs are for Friday, or even at times for Saturday. Why? We need you to focus. So it is up to us. At times, yes, us as parents want to be the 21st century parents, but if we do not teach our children these things, no one will teach them. So it is us to love them right. And we will not love them right if we are not teaching them these things. Because these are the children who are going to make us suffer. If we're going to the garden, let's all go. We'll buy boots for everyone. Let's all see, where does matoke come from? Matoke does not come from the road. No, matoke comes from the garden. Where does milk come from? Milk comes from cows. Let's go and see. We might not milk, but there's someone who's milking. So let's see where the milk is coming from. So let's be wise parents. Let's not spoil the children. Let's help them so that they be better people in future. Because if at all our parents were not, yes, we might not be, me the way my mother raised me, I wouldn't raise my child. But if at all my mother had not raised me the way she raised me, I wouldn't have managed now to be pushing my children to be the better version of me, of which I know I'm already a better version, but I need them to be the best version of me. Thank you.
Let's humble ourselves and pray. Heavenly Father, I would like to thank you for today. We would like to thank you for the gift of life. We'd like to thank you for the session. We would like to thank you for the grace of each and everyone, for giving the grace to each and everyone that has been able to make it throughout this session. For the new book read, the road less traveled. We thank you for Kelly that has read. We thank you for all the check-ons, for everyone that has shared personal experiences and those that have known. We continue to pray that you guide all of us throughout this night and be with us and protect each and everyone's family and perfect all that concerns each and everyone here. And for those that were not able to make it, to place them into your hands, those that are ill or having something going on, that Lord, you continue to make a way and continue to remind them that there's always another chance, which you always give. We thank you, Abba Father, for your divine protection. We're going to surrender the remaining days of the week into your hands, and Lord, you bless our going and coming back from the different workplaces. You bless the children of each and everyone here as they go to school and learn, and you're going to give them the grace to nurture them the best way they can. As it is said, train up a child in the way they should go, so that when they are older, they should not depart from those ways, which is what we're trying to learn from this new read. We thank you for each and everything, for your provision, and we pray that you bless our night, cover us with your precious blood, for each and everyone's family member here, those closer to them, those relatives, those far in different places, that will continue to glorify your name during the rest of the days of the week, and we'll come back here on Monday ready to learn and share. And in Jesus' mighty name, we've been able to pray with thanksgiving. Amen.